Welcome everybody to Veteran Voice Radio. This is Don with another episode. As you all know, we focus real heavily on mental health, and our next guest is no different. He's a VA veteran advocate and award-winning author. And without further ado, let me introduce William Stevens. How's it going, man?
Doing all right, man, if I can get this thing situated. Usually I'm sitting at a table, but I decided to sit on my couch.
I got you.
Great. Thank you for having me on the show, man.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Why don't we start with a little bit of a background about yourself? What drove you to join the military?
Toxic home environment.
Okay.
Um, Currently working on a memoir right now of my life, and first part of that is called The Abuse. One of the chapters is called The Abuse. And my father was a two-time Korean War veteran, Pork Chop Hill, and very, very abusive. Back then, I thought it was discipline. The way people used to discipline their children, you can't do that now. So
Yeah.
him mentally and physically abusing me at 19 years old from a skateboard kid, I joined the military. I'm going to join the field artillery. Saw that video of that big pond and those guns shooting over the water, like, man, that's a job for me. Definitely wasn't a job for me when I got to Germany and went to Desert Shield, Desert Storm. So 19 years old, Desert
Yeah.
Shield, Desert Storm. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I don't
after
think
that,
that's
it was a career.
yeah. I mean, I think everybody's career goes that way. You come in, you say, I'm done with this crap. And then it's I, Donald Dunn, do solemnly swear to uphold and defend the Constitution of the United States. I did, I think every enlistment I was getting out all the way up to 20 years. I get that. Yeah, I've had several guests come on too that said the same thing that their livelihood, their childhood, some even just socially toxic. As far as environments that they were in, it wasn't necessarily their parents, but the neighborhoods and stuff like that, and that's what drove them to the military. So I get it. It kind of sounds like we came in pretty close to about the same time. I came in 94,
I came in at 88.
88. Okay. So you came in just a little bit before me, and 88 rolls around, and you mentioned Operation Desert Storm, Desert Shield. Let's talk a little bit about that. So you're now in field artillery, and you find out you're deploying.
We left 26th December, like the day after Christmas. I remember our battery. I was just a buck for. I was like a PFC, I guess. I was there for maybe a year or so. Battery commander comes in, hands us all them green army socks with a bunch of stupid stuff inside of them, and it's like, "Hey, we got our date. We're leaving tomorrow. We'll be on aircrafts at Nuremberg, Germany, and out of Frankfurt." We're like, what? 27, what is it? 27 December 90 all the way to May 2nd, 91. I
Yeah.
don't know what we were providing comfort for, but burn pits and all that other stuff and wasting. You think Afghanistan was a waste? They ain't even talk about the stuff that we waste because all that stuff that we left in the desert went to Doha
Yeah.
and fell apart. So I ain't even going to talk about T-shirts and boxers and supplies and all the stuff that we burnt, because we didn't want Arab or Ahmad, Bedouin Bob driving around the pickup truck stealing our stuff.
Yeah.
I don't. We were providing security for our stuff, not comfort for them. So, but yeah, I was a powder pit guy, so I didn't really mention this so much, but like back then, I was in an all black section. I was known as the double stuff kid. So if you know Orioles,
Yeah.
I was the white guy in the middle. So I was outed from my section. So I was the powder pit guy. If you know what that is, the little guy that runs like they don't do that no more. But back then in the 10181s, you had to have a powder guy, and I would run like 100 feet away from the gun and hold up the increment and be like, start something in the hole and drop it down in the little pit. But before that, my chief was so racist to me. He made me dig like a pit, like a trench out to there. He's like, "Well, you might get killed going to battle." Okay, that was a waste of my time. But I actually I was one of the only privates that received an RCOM in my unit because so we have a cannoneer number one. I don't know if you remember. President Bush came on and said there was like a ceasefire agreement or something going on. all I remember our battery commander coming on and be like, "Hey, there's a ceasefire agreement, but I don't think anyone cares. First Armed Division, 7th Corps is about to unleash hell on the Republican Guard for 45 minutes." And next thing I know, my chief is like, "Hey, get up in the gun. The number one man just broke his wrist on the breach." And I get up there with no training except for basic training. And I'm the loader guy, and I'm loading 45 rounds in 45 minutes. And that gun could only fire 3 rounds per minute for 4 minutes, but we proved that was wrong. So yeah, HEPD charge 8 red bag. That's all I knew for
Yeah.
45 minutes. And then I wrote a story in my first book, The Mirror, called 96 Hours. A lot of people don't know the war was only 96. Desert Shield was nothing. That was just surviving in the desert. The war, the preparation, and 96 Hour was a war. And then they gave up or whatever. So, but the thing about my battery, that unit doesn't exist no more, 2-1 field artillery. I was in Bravo Battery 2-1 FA, and our battery alone was forward of the LD. So prior to the war, we were dug in by, I didn't even know what an engineer was. They dug some big pits and our guns were like underground. And the only time that, we fired was when we got fired upon. So we were basically to receive indirect and direct fire from the Republican Guard when they crossed the LD. So we were supposed to be artillery to the rear of all maneuver, but go figure.
Yeah.
We were to die in place, but guess what? I'm here to talk about it today. So no one in our unit died, but after we fired that prep, we got to drive to what's it called? Highway of Hell,
Yeah.
Highway of Route 80 or US 1
Yep.
now
Yellow Spring,
from
yep.
Kuwait to Iraq. And that's where I think I got starstruck because like we weren't allowed to get out, but we were all hanging outside. So a lot of people don't know what a howitzer is, so I'll just say our tank. We were in a howitzer, so we could open like the hatches and see. And at 19, I'm looking out the window, seeing all these bodies and kids and women, and I'm thinking like, what the hell happened here? And finally, we found out that the Republican Guard was pushed back so far in the highway obstruct, whatever it was, and hid behind civilian cars. And I can't believe that. I mean, we had to do what we had to do, So some people paid the price. And, I actually wrote in my book that I was sorry that I was given the order to unalive you, but hey, that crap ain't happening today.
Yeah.
I actually got to see like what's it called after the was it A-10s that came in. I don't even know what an A-10 was back then, but like when they blanket carpet bombed or
Yeah.
carpeted that whole area, and like it was all just like like obliterated. Like you could
Yeah.
see like soldiers still sitting on the back of their trucks, like evaporated, like just skeletized. And I was like, "Good God Almighty,
Yeah.
we did this!" Holy, but and that made me like say, "Hey, I want to reenlist you. I love this shit, man. I love killing people, but it wasn't like that. So
Yeah.
after a couple of times of going to Harnsfeld and getting chased by boar dogs on KP, I was like, what the hell did I sign up for, man? So, but after that, I went to Fort Carson. Then I went to Korea, right back to Fort Carson. So it's 4 years in 1 year Korea. Korea opened my eyes to like, there is no rank in Korea.
Yeah.
And then back to Fort Carson for 4 years, and then multiple deployments from Fort Carson, desert operations here, and 6 month deployment here, 2 month deployment here to different operations, Desert Spring and Rise and whatever the hell they threw at us. And back to Korea again, Camp Casey, same base,
Man.
Tongushan. This time I was on, I didn't know what an MP, I didn't know what MP actually meant, but when I got down there on courtesy patrol and found out that MP stood for mutilate and punch, because like I was a senior staff, I was a staff sergeant, and they were like, "Hey, you're a single guy. You're gonna be on courtesy patrol all the time." I'm like, "Oh God, man, you better know how to fight, because man, it's a whole different scene downtown Korea, Tongluchan." And then I went from Korea to Lewis, and from Lewis to Riley, and then Riley to New Cumberland, Pennsylvania. I was an observer controller trainer, like near my hometown. I didn't even know what the hell. I'm like, observer controller trainer. The hell is that? That was like 4 years. That 4 years of hotels and all that, and then that whole mission changed, and we went to Fort Dix and trained people, soldiers for Afghanistan and Iraq. And then I thought it was all over, man. I thought like, okay, this is the punch ticket right here, man, to make master sergeant and go on with my career. But they're like, nope, you're going to Iraq one more time. I'm like, this time, so I went there as a combat arms assessment team and helped write this security force handbook that was like the most sought out publication in 2006. I think it was 0602 security force handbook from the Center of Army Lessons Learned. And I think that's where I got my little punch for to be like a contributing author,
Yeah.
came back, sergeant major's like, I don't think you're gonna make master sergeant. You have an attitude, like anger issues. Military don't need that. So I got with my fiance and I went to Walter Reed and got a psych eval and was at the Wounded Warrior Transition Unit. And was there a year because they didn't when I got back, I was didn't have a weapon when I went to Iraq because we just collected data
Right.
and had those handy camera people with us and all that other stuff. But we fell in on the units that we trained. So I do shout out to the Puerto Rican National Guard. Those people were killers. Those women, those men and women were killers, man. Like they knew the area, they knew the enemy, and they took care of us. So it
Wow.
was great. There was a lot of crazy stuff that we did in Fallujah and all that. And man, it was so close to coming to like being mortared in our tent and all that. And I'm like, man, we're not even outside the wire, man. And they know where we're at. Like they already had a bounty on us when we got there for like $10,000 for these guys that are out collecting data. Like we saw a picture of little guys in Humvees and stuff. We're like, this sucks. So,
Yeah.
but then I came home, man, and that's when the battle began, man. My wife was a psych nurse. So imagine your wife is a psych nurse treating you like a damn patient,
Yeah.
and I was in a 10-year marriage for no intimacy. And from talking to some of her friends today, all she wanted was a child. And I was the forgotten father. My mom died in 2014. And that's when I was going to unalive myself because I was so tired of everything, man. Like, I wanted to like just paint the room red in my daughter's room and tell her that I had a purpose. I was that very suicidal. And then my dad called me, this guy who brutally abused me as a child and was like, hey, I need your help. And when my daughter was born, my dad cleaned up his act. Like he didn't smoke or drink or anymore. He really appreciated having a granddaughter. But I went and took care of my dad until he died in 2017. He had a stroke.
Mm.
And that's when I laid out the manuscript on the floor of the apartment and wrote The Mirror. That got published in 2018. And then I'll just join, work for Pepsi Cola. Oh, I'm sorry. I work for a cola company. Sorry. I work for a cola company and then work for corrections in the state of Pennsylvania. Yeah, you don't want to bring that stuff home to your kid and your wife, man. Because, like, I just tell you straight up, if you're a veteran, man, and you're going through it and you call your wife and your daughter the bitch word or the B word, that's probably the only swear word I'll say because I usually say the F word. But my daughter remembered that. To this day, she's 18,
Yeah.
and she still knows that I was a terrible father mentally. And then I got a call to work for one part of the branch of the military as a security specialist that had very high TSSCI. Basically, I was an adjudicator for the command. So anyone that came in that needed that clearance, I would grant that clearance, do the 13 adjudication guidelines to make sure that they fall into the category, give them the clearance they need for what is it called? The need to know for their clearance. After 16 years, I asked for a promotion, didn't agree with some policies, and they decided to send me home because I threatened my boss, told him and I shouldn't be working in the same office. I got an email, said you're terminated. So I filed for disability retirement. So I get 100% disability, my retirement, and civilian disability. So I decided to write this second book, The Broken Mirror, about calling out the government because they treat a lot of people that have mental health issues like absolute garbage.
Yep.
And a lot of people said, thank you for standing up for us because a lot of people couldn't speak. And like I said, now when I was out on the road, I sold my house. I've been out on the road for a year in my RV, helping veterans, homeless people, everybody with traumatic issues as much as I can. I probably buy more books than sell books to give out because I think it's more, I think when you order a book online, you don't have the author's signature, and you're not standing in front of the author and the person that actually wrote that book is standing there telling you the story. So I've met a lot of all branch people out on the road.
Mhm.
And there are great Canadians out there too because of the snowbirds, I will tell you. And then I had Canadian company, Bookside Press, do my audiobook. And my audiobook is done by a veteran who listened to my audio tracks that are on 1821 Productions Spotify. So people that don't have the money, they can go actually hear my raw tracks under my podcast on 1821. So I recorded those for my kids because she's Gen Z, she don't read books.
Yeah.
So, and some of my podcasts are there. He listened to all my stuff. So you can spend 2,000 to 10,000 for an audiobook, but I'll tell you what, man, this guy, I can't even say his last name, Benny Wellis, a veteran, Army veteran, listened to my tracks and his voice was my voice. Inflection, some narrators get paid money just to read words. You know, this guy, he destroyed it. He made my book like, sound like I'm actually telling the story. I've actually had people tell me they feel like that they're actually connecting with me, and some of them have never met me. So
Yeah.
that book won 2 National Book Awards from the International Impact Book Award for military self-help, self-development, and then my book also got nominated for the prestigious Eric Hoffer Book Award. I didn't win, but I got nominated, and that's still big
Yeah.
bragging rights. But I got to go to Phoenix a couple weeks ago, and mic drop everybody, military guys standing up there. From what I've heard, after on Sunday at breakfast, I had like a phenomenal speech. I talked about being in a mental ward where I was at Wounded Warrior Transition Unit. Like, I didn't like open my speech with "Good evening, how y'all doing today? I want to thank this." I was like, picture yourself in a classroom where there's a whiteboard and you have to talk about your everyday, 12 of us. You're holding the red marker or you're holding the black marker. The red means pain and the black means, normal. And people definitely felt that as I was speaking. So now I'm back in Pennsylvania. I had some RV issues. Going to get the transmission worked on. Going to go back out in April next year. Now I'm working on my memoir, hopefully dropping that on Halloween. So, and
Yeah.
I'm interacting with people daily. So I'm doing a lot of podcasting, creating my own stuff, being an advocate for authors who get scammed because I have the blacklist on Facebook group where we call out authors and fake marketers, those people that win cash apps and all that stuff and
Yep.
the lottery, and we call out everybody. So, but I've been interacting with a lot of veterans. I was just on Grunt Style Foundation podcast, which is amazing.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of Marines out there that have podcasts. You got Travis who has a podcast, and then Brian who has what they call Every Day is Saturday.
Yep. Brian Roof. Yep.
Yeah, and now he has what's it called? Have you seen Divine Measures?
I have not.
It's amazing. He talks about what truly like if you're thinking about Diddy, he's talking about what's actually going on in the world. So he's kind of like my news outlet guy. I don't listen to the media or anything, but I have a lot of friends that work for the government, so they won't speak, but they'll speak to me, and maybe I'll speak out. But hey, I'm the voice of the voiceless. I have a mental health platform which supports both of my books, and that's the way it is, man. I
So
enjoy interacting with people.
I wanna back this up a little bit because there's a lot to unpack here. Let's go back to your first book, right? So now
Mhm.
you're dealing with a lot of outside stresses. You're still dealing with the stresses from the military. You're dealing with the stresses from work, and now you're taking care of your dad. And as an author myself, I know what it's like to put a book together. People think that you just writing a story and poof, it's done. But what they don't realize is when you're writing a story about mental health, whether it's fiction or not, if you're writing a story about your military combat situation, whether it's fiction or not, all that stuff comes back to you as the writer. And you have to relive these. It took me a year or two to get my book done just because I kept setting it down. And I I understand those difficulties, and you're absolutely right when you said that you probably buy more books than you've sold. Authors today just are not gonna get rich, not the days of, like, Stephen King and stuff anymore. But,
Yeah, you got to build
however
your platform.
yep, I think I can say this about the veteran community. I don't think too many veterans have ever wrote a book with the intent to get rich. They cared more about reaching people and helping people, and I think that is amazing. What trials did you find with your first book? What it was it that you found difficult?
So the first book was basically already done. I just had like little pieces of paper from like when I was 19 all the way like when I was on guard duty. I would write these horrible, weird stories of dying and nuclear war and stuff
Yeah,
I never thought I would ever see, and relationships and like just being dark, like in a dark world. And then my dad died and I didn't have a cover to my book. I just had a manuscript and I like went to work and printed it out and sitting in their empty apartment, laid this manuscript out and took myself from being I didn't even consider myself as an author because they didn't even know how an author was. I took myself as the person that's gonna read this book and was like, well, if I turn the page, am I gonna get bored? Is this picture gonna bore somebody? Is this picture gonna offend somebody?
yep,
And then like the newspaper people like came to the apartment and was like, hey, we'd like to do a story on your dad. And they're
yeah,
like, well, we'll do a story on you. You're like writing a book, right? So they took like this weird photos and stuff, and I was like, went to them. I'm like, hey, can I get that picture of me standing in the hallway looking at the light? And they were like, we can't do that. And I'm like, well, how about if I take the photographer and his name and your organization and put it under my mentors or under the thank yous in my book and I gave me the picture that's how like the picture was evolved.
mhm,
Because like originally it was supposed to be called Cover to Cover because like I never read a book in my entire life because everything in the army is open book test.
yep, yeah,
And I was just a dummy skateboarder kid and was interested in history back in the days. Ran my manuscript through like a bunch of people from my graduation class in 1988, and they were like, "Dude, if you don't drop this, you're a fool." So I did some research, won't lie, jumped on Book Venture, which they were absolute garbage. They actually did submit my book for the US Book Review. That was pretty cool and didn't sell anything. I didn't get no royalties or anything. I know the first 3 weeks that it dropped, it's supposed to drop in 2017 after my dad died. We were trying to get it dropped at Christmas time to help people that were struggling. And then it dropped in like February 2018 and then it sold out on Amazon like 3 weeks straight. I
wow,
didn't see I didn't see one royalty at all. And then they like went under. Like I looked and saw that they had like violated the contract, because like they didn't do the 90-day royalty thing. And I think they cut me a check for $250 and were like gone. It's almost like they took my money and went to the island or somebody, the CEO went to the island or something. He did a lot. They did it to a lot of people. So then I rebranded under well, my book was Limbo till 2024
wow,
and I was just like building that Facebook platform and trying to push my books and didn't even know that they were out there unavailable. Somebody's like, yo, man, we can't get your book. It says unavailable. And I was like, good God, good gracious. So I went and rebranded to the second edition,
mhm,
the Mirror second edition under United Writers, which they scammed me out of like $4,000. First, they rebranded me at like $100. And then we started working on the second book that I started May 2024. That project was supposed to drop on Halloween 2024, which the guy I was working with, he scammed a bunch of people and I got scammed for more money and didn't know how to market or anything. And then started jumping on veteran podcasts and started talking about my message. And then finally, when I was out on the road, that book was supposed to drop on Halloween night. And I'm waiting for the trailer to drop and they didn't do anything. And I'm like scrambling on KDP trying to figure out, promised all these people on Facebook and Instagram and YouTube that it was going to drop and people were trying to watch the trailer and it was locked up and there was no countdown. Like I was trying to make this like on the witching hour, like a countdown, and it was cool. I had pumpkins dropping and stuff the guy created, and it just failed. So I got on KDP, man, and dropped that book like 2 minutes before, I put it on there, but it didn't drop until the next day because they had to review it and all that.
yeah,
And finally, it was out, and people were like, "Wow, this is cool." And then when I was out on the road, I found out this book that I wrote about the broken bond between me and my kid and military transition not being greener on the other side won freaking National Book Award.
Yeah. Well, let's unpack that. I mean that a little bit too, because
So that first book is therapeutic poetry. The second book is like a guide for your mental toolbox to help people transition, write resumes, get out of the
yep,
military, you have no clue how to write a resume. So stuff like
yep,
that, coping mechanisms and stuff like that.
yeah. That concept is exactly where my book came from. I wrote a document. It wasn't a book, and I wrote it for my kids because I didn't want to have a conversation about what I went through, but I wanted them to know what I went through. And I wanted it to be in my own words. My daughter is the one that convinced me to publish it. And so I did, but that's something that a lot of people, what you just said there is something that a lot of people don't understand, that the civilian world isn't necessarily greener on that side. There's a lot.
Some it is
Yeah, for
for
some,
some, but
you
not
know.
everyone.
No, and even the ones that succeed, that I've had on my show have told me that they still felt when they walked away that they were stripped of their identity, and they had to rebuild off of that. I think that is something that is important to take note of, is what is that person losing when they walk away? Well, they're losing everything that they were. They're losing the ability to take care of people, their status of what they did, the troops that looked up to you, all that is gone now, and now you're the lowest man on the totem pole if anybody even acknowledges you.
So what's unique about my two books, both of them had to be approved by the Pentagon Review Board. One because of my security clearance, which ended last year, and I didn't get like debriefed the right way. Let's just say that. But the
Mhm.
other thing is the stuff that I disclose about long-term medication use from the VA, how corrupt the government is toward people that have mental health issues, stuff that they don't want people to know. But like if I found the right audience, man, I think my message would blow up. And I'm not trying to call out the system, but you know, I will use a friend of mine who has 21 years in, Purple Heart, 3 Bronze Stars, and he thought that he was going to walk on water when he walked out. Well, he started
Yep.
at a gas station. And no one, I talked to him. I've been his mentor since I got out. He was one of my favorite soldiers. We still talk. We just communicated the other day when I was down in Florida with him in Miami, and I'm trying to get him 100% right now. And I could also see that when I was at his house, I could see that he had like this dementia thing going on. His wife is like, "See what I have to deal with every day? He won't go get 100%, and I have to deal with this every day." And I try to sit down and talk to him, but like some people just think because they have that Purple Heart and those Bronze Stars that like bullets bounce off them. And
Yep.
I'm like, dude, man, you started out at a gas station. I helped you do your resume and get you situated. I want you to pass that on to others. So he brought a couple people that he's working with, a big management director of a contracting company now. He brought a couple veterans in and helped them write their resumes and stuff. That's like, when you get out, you know, most seniors don't know how to write a resume.
You're right.
And most of the stuff they put in there is military accolades and awards. And these people today do not want to hear that. They don't want to hear that, you have a good conduct medal or an Army Achievement Medal or whatever. They want you to take your leadership and transfer it over to like the civilian lingo. So if you were a platoon sergeant or a commander, you were a supervisor in the civilian world, if you were a sergeant major, or like me, I was a retention NCO because I got relieved in OIF2 because I snatched the soldier up old school way. And I used that to my advantage because I went to the battalion meeting with the colonel and sergeant major and said I was an advisor. So I annotated that I was an advisor to the commander, to the supervisor, or to the CEO, and it helped me. But if I would have been like, oh, I reenlisted 100 soldiers,
Yep.
but I was an advisor to the commander that made mission.
Yep.
And I know several people that work in HR in the government. And one of my buddies is very high in the government that's HR. And he told me, he said, man, when you drop this, I want to see how you do the HR thing or the resume thing, because people are going to call you out, man, if it's wrong. Definitely wrong. And all it is just a small guide to help people. And I will tell you this, the thing where I found out, you've been on usjobs.gov, right?
Yep.
Where you look at the jobs and it always says, "Hey, do you have, you know, and they say it's an advantage to get you over other people where you fill out the thing and it says, do you have a disability? Okay. You say,
Yep.
and then it says, do you have schizophrenia, PTSD, bipolar? And you fill that little thing out and then you get hired. You do the interview, you get hired, and then down the road, you want a promotion and they come back and go, no, we don't think that you should be in a leadership position because you have mental issues.
Yep.
You disclosed it when you brought, and I'm like, what? So when you come in and you do the government job, you have to fill out a form disclosing that you have that type of stuff so that they can't use that against you. And I know I did it, but they used it against me. And that's why I called out the agency that I work for because, like, they were like, he has severe mental health issues, So karma's
Yep.
a bitch, man. So
Yeah. And the other thing, like you said, there you have to translate the lingo, right? And the army, the military in general, they do not prepare you for that part of it. They,
now it's
they
all online, isn't it?
Yeah, most of it. Yeah, there's hardly even anybody giving the classes. And when you do that, you find out that most NCOs, senior NCOs that write their resume and get out, when you look at it, it looks more like an NCOER.
Yeah,
Looks
yeah, yeah, yeah.
They write it bullet statement like they were doing a rating for one of their younger NCOs, and that is not going to help you in the civilian world.
And the other thing is when you're trying to get like maybe a government job or even when you go to one of those agencies or one of those civilian jobs, man, research how they do their resumes. Go online and see how they write the resumes and reach out to somebody that you know. Maybe you know somebody from that agency and they can give you an example of the resume because like, man, if you go in there right, you got government resumes and civilian resumes. You go in there writing the whole damn story, they're just gonna throw that thing out. And now you gotta hit those keywords, man, because like a computer now, it runs it through a computer. And if you don't hit the keywords that are on like the announcement, bro, you ain't even and they don't care if you know everybody in that command, you ain't getting in there.
Yep.
Doing something that we ain't gonna talk about. So
Yeah, you are 100% correct, and I was just getting ready to say that. If you're in the military, you're used to open book tests, right? Well, your
yeah.
open book test is in the part that says job description. All right. You don't print 50 copies of your resume. You print what you need. And then the next position you apply, you tailor your resume to that job description. And that's where you're going to find those keywords that you need.
I did find out that one thing that these agencies look at, and even regular jobs, like you know how you said you print out multiple copies of your resume and shoot them out to different places when you're
Yeah.
trying to find a job. You had like I'm going to use this as an example. So I was a security specialist, and the job they were hiring for was for an anti-terrorism officer. So I sent them a resume for a security specialist, and they were like, "You have no criteria for an anti-terrorism officer." All I had to do was change that I was looking for a GS-11 anti-terrorism officer, and I probably would have got the job because I had the criteria.
Yep.
But as soon as that person looked at the top line and saw that I was looking for a security specialist job and don't understand how the hell I made it to the next review, maybe because they didn't have enough candidates. But you have to watch it, man, because like some of these agencies will talk to each other and be like, "Did you guys send you a resume looking for being an anti-terrorism officer?" And he's looking for an 11 position, but it's a 12 position. You have to make sure that the position you're looking for is what you put in your resume because some people come down from a level because they can't hack it or don't want the leadership in the civilian or hell, working at a prison, you
Yep.
want to go be sergeant or something, you write your resume, but if you don't have anything that pertains to a sergeant in the prison, meaning like that higher supervisor,
Yeah.
man, all those people that got like 20 years experience are gonna go step right on you, man. So
Yep.
and it happened. Military, civilian, it doesn't matter, man. So but
Yep.
I believe the whole government's corrupt, man. Like they've been lying to us ever since we were children, man.
Well, I think Afghanistan kind of broke that closet door. It may not be all the way open, but shit's falling out of it. And when you look at how that war was ran, I honestly do believe that they had alternative reasons for wanting to go into Afghanistan than 9/11.
Well,
Um,
you have to understand some of these countries that, I'm just going to use Iran that just happened. You think, and this is my hearing from my people, not Democrat, Republican, because I'm not going to talk about politics, but you really think that they had nukes? There's a whole thing going on behind a lot of people's back, the digital central banking
Yeah.
system. All these Arabic countries are smart. They do not want to be part of, they know what happens if this digital currency thing goes through, or they're going to be part of it because, they might say that, hey, and we all know Iran knew they were coming. I mean, it was like, hey, guess what? Tomorrow we're going to send some B-2s over and we're going to bomb your ass. So go get your stuff out of there. And we're just going to say that we took it all out. But obviously, you could tell that this digital currency or this central banking system, I believe that's what it's called. And
Mhm.
I don't want the fact checkers coming after me, but, and, it's like all this stuff and and I'm even going to go back to Saddam Hussein. Okay, I even go back to Hitler. Did you ever see Hitler found some kind of portal or something? You ever heard about that?
I have.
Hitler found a portal. The Germans had a portal or a ship or something, and then Saddam Hussein supposedly had. So this is the thing: those Marines and the Third ID that went in, they didn't go after to kill people. They went to the museum. Why did they go to museums and archive places? Because there was something there that they did not want the American people to know, like a portal or something. Now, I'm not saying that it was there, but they used 9/11 and they used, was it oil
Yep.
enrichment? Nah, man. We lost so many people over so much dumb shit, man.
Yep.
I believe, and people are saying that if Saddam Hussein was still in power, this shit would not be happening right now.
I
I'm not for those. I'm not for those Arabic countries, but there are people that they unalive that I think still should be alive. And the people who try to step up over him, he would behead their ass because he does, And I just think that they put him in a situation, and I don't think they found him in a hole. I think he knew that he was going to be unalive, and he gave up. So, and
yeah.
all the stuff that we were out on patrol and kicking down doors and taking this person who was a terrorist or something. Now I understand they're a terrorist, there's homegrown terrorists and stuff, and those people need to be eliminated. But I don't think it was that for that reason that we were there. And there's a lot of veterans coming out now saying that they had to go back, they would never go back.
Yeah.
You know,
I
so
think, at the end of the day, there's some differences that just don't add up, right? You look at when they supposedly found Saddam in a hole. What did they do with Saddam? They supposedly handed him over to the local nationals, and they supposedly, I say that because I don't know if I necessarily believe it, hung him and left him out there for display, right? You then go switch over to Bin Laden, and we dumped him in the ocean? Are you serious?
and there's pictures coming out now saying that he's somebody else. Have you seen that?
Not
Like he's like a CIA double, man. Like he's still alive. It's almost like I'm not for the Epstein thing, man, but they said like,
he
and
was
I'm
at the
not
island.
for no, Epstein went back. He was like, so did you hear that I'm gonna get in trouble for this one. Patel, I'm just gonna say Patel. You know what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah.
His girlfriend is some kind of like Israeli counter agent, like terrorist type, trained at the highest level of the, is it called the IDF,
Yes.
Israel
Yes.
Defense, whatever it is.
Yep.
And he didn't disclose that. I believe that someone snatched Epstein and sent him back to it. I believe Epstein was something to do with Israel. And I truly believe that all these, like, I mean, I don't support Israel, and I believe that things that we do is because of Israel, but I believe my thoughts, I believe that someday it's going to come out that Israel had a huge backing in some of the things that happened in our country that I don't even want to disclose because I just believe that all these people that are waving. Did you know you can't burn an Israel flag in the United States? You get arrested for it. But if you burn an American flag, they'll just slap your hand and tell you not to do it again.
I did not know that.
Yeah, yeah, man. Yeah. So, but yeah, man, I think all the stuff that they told us and fed us and programmed us as soldiers to go into battle, man, you know, and now people are all raising up because we got troops. Like, I just think originally, whoever the first president was, man, we should have had troops already, like all these other countries, man. That's why they don't have crime, man. They got troops in the streets. I mean, look at the English, what are the guys that are dressed in red?
Yep.
Where the funky you see the weapons they're carrying?
Yeah.
And they're just guarding the palace, man. Yeah, right. Okay. There's more of them running around there than that. And I mean, our soldiers ain't got no weapons like them cats do. But I will tell you, if you want to see a good movie, man, I just saw it the other night on Amazon Prime. Ice Cube just came out with a new movie called War of the Worlds, where
I'll have to check it out.
he's an NSA agent
Okay.
and he's a cybersecurity expert, and he shows what's going on in our country today, where like these people are sitting behind screens watching and listening to everyone talking, drones, surveillance footage, satellites, and the aliens, you know what I'm saying, the aliens that are supposed to be coming, they came in that movie. Like they came and like meteorites broke open and these little alien things came out. And now our country's building these things called data centers, right? In that movie, they already had data centers, and these aliens were there not to kill people; they were there to take all of our personal data. And this guy's sitting here watching these things suck all this data out of these different systems, and it was all set up by the government. It was a special thing. And his kid, he spent like $100,000 for his kid to go to college for like cybersecurity. And his kid was like this, I want to say like this cloak guy online that he would talk to and tell him all these secret things. And he did not know that was his kid until like there was a breach. And his kid said, "Hey dad, I know something." He's like, "You can't tell me anything. I'm busy right now." And then the little guy came on and was talking to him and he said something about his family. And he's like, "How do you know that about my family?" And the guy uncloaked himself and it was his son. It was his son that helped put the virus into the data system that drove the aliens away. But it's a good movie, man, because it
I'll
shows
check
like
it out.
exactly how they're spying on you. They're watching every move you're doing. This guy, his daughter was pregnant and she had to get out of there. So he like linked in the satellite system and started up an electric car, you know, and he drove it from NSA headquarters and got his daughter back to safety. If you don't believe that, that shit is actually true, man. That shit can happen, dude. They
Well,
do automatic. They do.
yep.
Yeah, but
And
yeah,
it is not it's came out. It's not, it's not sci-fi anymore. They do have
yeah, man.
technology that they can listen to live conversations on cell phones in real time.
They're listening to us right now, man. They're listening to us stuff right now. If I say something bad about the CIA, you know they're coming to get me, man. So, anyways, but it's all about helping veterans, man, and trying to get like the right word out, man. Because like I just think, man, this whole world, man, is like Diddy, pornography, pedophilia, man. So many people look into that, but they don't look into mental health. Like everybody, my message is, I believe mental health is a life sentence without parole, and the reason why I say that is I worked in the criminal department. I worked in a jail and saw that murderers and killers get parole. But when you have this disease that you never asked for, or something that you never knew that was going to be hereditary on you, because even civilians have it, you know, we can't
Yep.
forget our loved ones, you know, they like the 22 a day. It's not just veterans, it's their family members and their children that no one talks about. Like, I even heard that number's now 44.
Yep. I've heard that too.
Yep, it went up to 44. And then let's not even talk about active duty.
Yeah.
Okay, active duty psych in the active duty psych side is terrible. Because I thought when I was in the military, they were like, "Okay, man, you're good. Go back into combat." I actually sat down at a campground with a young sergeant at Fort Stewart. How about that? Fort
Yep.
Stewart at the campground, and I talked to a young Sergeant MP, and he told me he goes, "I really appreciate you, Big Sarge, for what you do for veterans." He goes, "But you just don't have a clue what is going on the active side, and they're not even talking about it." And I want to disclose that he said there was 12 in 4 months suicides in his
Yep.
unit. And and I said, "Well, you're a sergeant, man. What did you do about that?" He goes, "It was beyond my level." He goes, "Those weren't my soldiers, but it's like poor leadership. People trying to be better than other people. Like they don't want to listen." I always say, when you do the buddy check, right? I ask you, hey, double D, man, are you all right? And
Yep.
there's a pause. "Hey, man, are you sure you're all right?" You know, it's not, "Hey, D, are you all right, man?" And if
Yep.
not, man, you know, like, hey, pick up the phone and call 911 or call 988, or, you know, it only takes 3 seconds to ask for help.
Yep.
And that's what's wrong, man. The people don't like, you know, these podcasts go, "Hey, I want you to send the 6 messages out to your friends and ask them if they're all right." most of the time it's like, "Hey, D, are you okay?" I'm supposed to get a response back, right?
Yeah.
So if I don't get a response, I pick up the phone and go, "Yo, Gun, you all right, man? I know you're dealing with the Texas and all that. Are you sure your family all right, man?"
Yeah.
And I always dig in deeper.
Yeah. And you are absolutely right. And I would say that's gotten better in the veteran community as the years have gone by, or maybe I have gotten in deeper in the veteran community, and so therefore I see that. But at the end of the day, that's exactly what we have to do.
Yeah, man.
Right.
But I've been
The
with the same psychiatrist since 2008. Most people can't do that. Most people
No,
can't say that.
no, yeah, you're right. I can't say that.
We ain't even talk about the VA system, how people, our veterans are just tossed around like juggling balls. Because I
Yeah.
went yesterday to get blood tests, and I didn't even know who my primary healthcare manager was. And they were like, "You missed a primary healthcare appointment." I'm like, "No, she canceled. Didn't have time to see me." And then it's a he, it's a her, it's a he. I get all my anything that I get is from my psychiatrist. I'm like, "Hey, I ain't even got a primary health care. You're the chief of psychiatry now. Give me this drug, or give me this." And I went from 10 bottles to 2 bottles. Age 43, diabetes. Age 56, no more diabetic.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah,
Awesome.
man.
Well, why don't I give you that opportunity to tell everybody where they can get your books and continue to follow you on social media and find out the good stuff that you're doing.
Yeah, man. So my Facebook page is 1821 Productions. And then that's like my sub page. And then I have a main page is William Stevens, spelled like that, Stepatns. I just hit 1.5 my 1821, and they're real followers. I didn't buy them followers. They're real people for the message. I have created 1821 Breakdown, which is my official website that talks about my mission statement for 1821, which 1821 Productions is the platform that my books sit on. So I have the Mirror Black Edition now because a couple people called me out for fake reviews on Amazon, and they actually took my first book down from publication. So I put it back up as a black and white cover and called it the Black Edition to like go after the haters. So I had to change some stuff in the manuscript, and now it's out there on Amazon. The Mirror is out there on audio. So it's on 18 different audio streaming platforms: Spotify, Apple, iHeart, freaking Audible, you name it. Spotify, it's out there. The Broken Mirror is on Kindle. So both books are on Kindle for $2.99. I also sell on books.by, and that's where my books, I set my price. So my 2 softbacks are only like under $15, and struggling authors can find that page for $99 a year and put their stuff on there and set up professional printing and everything. They just dropped their printing price because Amazon, if you print on KDP, they take 40% for a softback
Yeah.
and 60% for a hardback. They even take 10% from your Kindle. But yeah, so I'm out there. I'm on YouTube. I do a lot of my I do a mental health message every morning. If I'm sick, laying in the bed, I'll turn sideways and do the video and just tell people get your ass out of bed and motivate yourself. Even if it's 5 minutes. Sometimes I get on a roll, man. I'll be talking like for like 20 minutes. They get more streams. They get more streams, man. The longer ones. But yeah, I'm always there, man. And I also have a 24-hour chat in my William Stevens for people that are just struggling, that they could come on and disclose. And now I'm working on my memoir. I have like these cryptic chapter things that I'm making on Chat GPT, like designs of like the abuse. How when I was a kid, I played the violin. They used to call me Billy Beethoven. I had an issue, toxic marriage. So I drop all these cryptic chapters to lead people into this memoir. 19 chapters, 92 pages, which is, I'm not even looking for no awards or anything. I just want to get it out there.
Yeah.
And then I put the 2 QR codes for both books at the end of that book. So people be like, "Well, he got a memoir. I wonder if he's got other books." So,
Yeah.
and don't go down the scam marketing trail, man, because like I've been scammed for like $12,000. I know people that have been scammed for more than that. Come over to the Blacklist Facebook group, join that, say hello. I'm always interacting with people. My Blacklist, I have 2 moderators, and I'm the admin. That page runs itself, but I'm always active. I'm retired, so I have no direction in life. So I'm always on Facebook. I'm always on podcasts, always trying to hell, I'm featured in a woman's magazine called Power. It's like an entrepreneur guidance type thing from New York. They asked me to come on there. Somebody recommended me from a award ceremony that I was at, and they were like, "Hey, you help women veterans and people every day about trauma. We want to feature you in the center." And I'm like, "It's an all women's magazine." They're like, "Well, we run an issue on the fall on 1 September, which is dropping September, on the mail." And I'm like, "Shit, all the males I've seen, they're wearing suits and all kinds of entrepreneurs and all kinds of stuff." So she's like,
Yeah.
"You call yourself an entrepreneur? Well, yeah, you don't have to be a millionaire to be an entrepreneur. I have this global platform called 1821 Production
Yep.
Team."
You're absolutely right. Well, brother, I'm gonna let you go. I appreciate all of you guys that are listening. And as always, if you're struggling, here's another lifeline that you can utilize. You've got 988. You've got all sorts of things that to do. Everybody wants to help. You just have to be willing to accept it. And understand that if you find one thing that doesn't work, it doesn't mean there's nothing else. There's tons of other options out there. There's tons of mom and pop nonprofits that are great, but they just don't have the money for advertising. They put that money towards helping other veterans.
22 a day.
Yep, 22 a day. You got 22 Mohawks out there. Yep. So there is tons of opportunities that don't have anything to do with the VA if that's one of the problems that you're running into. There's tons of nonprofits out there that will help you get your VA benefits if that's something that you're looking for.
Read
So
about your medication. Read about your medication that they put you on, because grunt style pushes overprescribing for
yeah,
veterans.
yeah,
Huge, huge. So many people dying. That's not even a 22 thing. That's just the veterans getting screwed over with overprescribing because that veteran doesn't know how to say no. Look at that medication before you start taking it. Seriously,
yep, yeah.
we're zombies. We're like zombies, man.
Yep, absolutely. So I appreciate all you guys that have listened and William, I appreciate you coming on as well and everything that you're doing to help spread this word. All you guys take care. Remember, don't let the day kick your ass. Kick the day's ass.